In this video, I'll be discussing about the hashes and Merkle trees in context of blockchain. So first of all, I'll just discuss about what the hash algorithms are, what they mean, and how they basically function, and then we'll discuss about the Merkle trees, and subsequently at the end of this presentation, we'll connect the role of hash, Merkle trees, and then what are they finally doing in the overall picture of blockchain. So hash algorithms are cardinal to the complete network of any blockchain. Now in this video we'll be talking about the Bitcoin blockchain, but hash algorithms basically they are cardinal to any blockchain, whether it is Ethereum or Ripple or Corda or Hashgraph, etc. There will be hashes algorithms peculiar to each of them. So hash functions, what basically they do is they take an input and they return a fixed size alphanumeric string. To make it more simple, we'll be taking it all practical and all simulated, so you'll understand. But from a point of view of understanding a definition, hash function basically just an input is given and they return a fixed size alphanumeric string, and this input can be in form of a text or an image or a document or any message or any file in the cyber ecosystem. So what is the purpose of hashes? The hashes basically they scramble the data deterministically. Now in the domain of computer science, when we say deterministically, what basically it means is that for a given particular input, irrespective of time or irrespective of day or irrespective of anything, they will always produce the same output when a hash function is applied on them. So for now you just understand that hashes are deterministic, and what exactly they mean we'll be getting it subsequently clear in the video ahead. The other point is they accept input of any length. Now there is no limitation in time in kind of input. There can be a small text file, or it can be a big word file, or it can be an absolute big file like 5 GB, 10 GB. There is no length limitation, and it will always produce a fixed length result, and the reverse is not possible. Now when we apply a hash function to some file or to a presentation file or a PPT to a doc file, etc., any file that we apply a hash function to, what we get a fixed length output here. So we will not be able to reverse it from the output. We will not be ever able to get to the input. So irreversible it is, the reverse is not possible. So the ultimate thing that we are working on by applying the hash functions in blockchain is message integrity. So that message integrity is ensured. Whatever is transacted once, that remains there. Nobody can fudge with it, or nobody can ever modify it. To achieve this integrity, etc., and whatever hash functions that we are talking about, so there are multiple hash algorithms that exist in the cyber domain, and these are there are various types of hash functions. So what you see on the screens are just few of them, and there are many others. But what in context of Bitcoin blockchain we'll be discussing is there are two peculiar hash algorithms, which are SHA-256 and RIP-EMD 160. So these are basically two hash functions which are exhaustively used in Bitcoin blockchain. So what is about SHA-256? Basically they belong to the SHA-2 family, the secure hash function 2 family. It was designed by United States NSA, and it was first published in 2001, and this I'm talking about the SHA-2 family. So major changes came from its predecessor, the SHA-1, and SHA-2 family basically has got 6 hash functions, of which we have got interest in SHA-256, which is peculiar to the Bitcoin blockchain. And SHA-256 produces a 256, that is 32 bytes hash value, and usually we represent it in a hexadecimal form. Basically it comes out in a 64 digit output. So a sample output is shown here. So what you see on the screen, a jumbled set of characters, this is a hexadecimal representation of some kind of input. So this is a sample output. So irrespective of the file size, now as I said earlier, irrespective of the file size, you apply a hash function on anything, the hash will be unique, and the hash will be 64 digits always when a SHA-256 is applied. Now we go on to the other that RIP EMD 160, that stands for Race Integrity Primitives Evaluation Message Digest. So it become SHA 256 belonged to the SHA 2 family. Now it belongs to the RIP EMD hash family. It was first published way back in 1992, and again it has got 5 hash functions, of which RIP EMD 160, that is used in the Bitcoin blockchain, is most dominantly used. So the 160-bit RIP-EMD hashes, like the SHA 256, were represented by 64-digit hexadecimal numbers. So they are represented by 40-digit hexadecimal numbers, and the sample output is seen as shown on the slide. So here we go on to this particular website, anyhash.com, and we'll just do the hashing of few sample files and text, etc. So now we have come to this website, anyhash.com. Now for the representation and for the demonstration purpose here, I have taken this website. Otherwise you are free to use any online hash generator. So what we were discussing about the hash, now here we have got a text box wherein we can input anything. So I type in something, and this is my text, and I immediately get respective hash values below. So just see that in spite there is no text inside the input value, still there is a hash being generated that represents the hash value of a blank file or a blank text document or a blank message. So there are respective hash values. The moment you add the text here, suppose I have added this text and there is a hash generated. So we were talking about SHA 256. So SHA 256 gives a 64-digit fixed length output. So here we have got 693F3, etc. So what we see on the screen is the fixed length output. Now again I'll just repeat that this text what I have written, Rajnikant Kabali, in case anybody across the globe writes the same message and applies a hash function SHA 256, so he is bound to get the same output value, the fixed length output, the same which is available on this screen. So this is deterministic in nature, that I had explained earlier in the slide. What is deterministic? That irrespective of anybody typing or anybody applying the hash function from anywhere, he will get the same result if the input is the same. So here just observe, now in this text I simply add a full stop. The moment I add a full stop, now what will happen? The complete hash will change. Now you can focus on any of the hashes. All these hashes will change with a avalanche effect. There will be no similarity existing. So I will just add a full stop here, and the moment I add a full stop here, you see how much of it changes, and there is no similarity. So the moment I added this full stop, the complete hash has changed, and it is an avalanche effect. Avalanche in the sense there is basically no similarity existing with the preceding output that we had. So I remove the full stop and I get this, and if I add the full stop, I get this. Now even if to the original message I add a space bar, if I add this space, the hash changes. So basically hash is representing and ensuring that the message integrity stands. So it is similarly applied everywhere, everywhere in the sense. Now in case I go to my terminal, I'll just take one file. So we have got this block clear PDF file. So I'll take MD5 sum, and then I'll apply this terminal command. So the moment I applied, this is a terminal way of getting the hash. So this is the MD5 hash. So immediately I get the hash value of this block layer PDF. Now this is a PDF document, which if I want to ensure that the same PDF is opened by somebody else, if I send it on email and there is no MITM, man in the middle attack, or there is no malicious modification to it, so the other guy, he can apply the MD5 sum hash to this particular file, and he can get back to the actual integrity verification. So here we get this thing about basic idea about what hash basically do. Now we come to the Merkle trees. Now what Merkle trees are about and how are they related to hash. So let's consider some data at the onset for understanding Merkle trees. Suppose there are data sets. Now data 1, data 2, data 3 and data 4. Now we have got a basic idea of what hash is. Now when a hash function is applied, we get output, a fixed length output. So here, while we speak about Merkle trees, so suppose we have got 4 data sets, so we make a compartment out of them, that all 4 of them exist at different geographic locations. Now we take hash of data 1, similarly we take off hash of data 2, similarly we take hash of data 3 and then hash of data 4. Then after taking the hash of data 1 and data 2, data 3, data 4, we again take the hash of data 1 and data 2. So we arrive at a combined hash of 1 and 2. Similarly on the other side, we'll arrive at a combined hash of data 3 and 4. Again, after this we'll come at the root hash, which is known as the combined hash of complete thing, data 1, data 2, data 3, data 4, and this is also known as the Merkle root. So if Merkle root is at the top and the hashes are down below representing various data sets, so this is called a Merkle tree. Now again on the same lines, in this graph, in this Merkle tree that you see here, we have got data 1 till data 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have got different hashes against them. Now remember, hashes will be unique. Till such time data is same, hashes will always be unique. So here we have taken hash 1, hash 2, hash 3 subsequent to data numbers. Again we have taken on the similar lines like in the earlier slide, combined hash of 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and again we take a combined hash of 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8, and then again the Merkle root kind concept, the Merkle root, that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now imagine, now in this complete set of data, suppose there is some kind of data tampering observed in data 1. Now the moment data 1 is tampered, what will happen is the hash will change. Now if hash 1 changes, what will happen? The complete chain changes and the Merkle root changes. So this is the kind of magical avalanche effect that a hash does. So Merkle tree basically is a combination of various hashes which are derived from respective hash values of different data sets which are at different geographic locations. So here what we see is that the moment there is any kind of modification or tampering, this the complete Merkle tree, the root, it comes to know that there has been some modification and that is not taken, that is not validated. So now we'll go to this website as you see on the screen to give you a practical demonstration and understanding of what Merkle tree basically whatever I have explained here. So how does it basically work? Now we come to this website that I had shown you on the slide. So we'll just go to this Pratha Mudesh Mukh, what I had mentioned on the slide, and we'll construct a Merkle tree. Now this is a very good website to basically understand, give you an idea of what Merkle trees are and what they work like. So I have this message, again I have got this message here, it can be anything least. So I have this message, so I just copy it so that I paste it again. So now what I am trying here is I'll construct a Merkle tree out of this data and then I'll apply some modification, and once the modification is done, you see how the Merkle root changes. So for a parameter check, I will divide this data into chunk size 5 and I will construct the tree. Now this is the message what you see on the screen, the highlighted here, and now I construct the tree. Now the moment I construct the tree, it will take a second and it will create this Merkle tree. Now you just remember all these were data sets where my mouse is currently scrolling, the green thing, and then respective blue things are respective hashes and the red is the Merkle root, the final root that changes or that represents the information of entire block, entire set of data. Now further to this, again coming back to this data, if I add a full stop, the moment I add a full stop and I construct the tree again, it is not real time, I will have to apply the function again, construct tree. Now you see the effect. Now the Merkle root is EEA003 and I have just added a full stop here. The moment I have added the full stop here and I construct tree, the Merkle root on the right hand side will change. You see, this has remained the same because most of the text was same, and I added the full stop. So the chunks, basically what I had done is I have divided the data into 5 chunks and constructed the tree. So this thing has changed and this thing has changed. Therefore the Merkle root has changed. So Merkle root basically ensures that there is no data modification anywhere down the roots, down the leaves. So at any point of time, if a cyber criminal is able to make his way to modify a data or corrupt a data, etc., so immediately the Merkle root will change, and this Merkle root will immediately change, and the complete chain will come to know that there is some change. Even again, if I add a space here, again on the same lines like I had shown you in hash, in case I change, simply add a space here and construct the tree, again the Merkle root will change. Again it is 160998 and it has got no similarity anywhere. So again this complete thing has changed. So you basically get an idea of what Merkle trees are and what Merkle roots are, and how are they connecting, we'll just see ahead in the video. So now, while we have seen how hashes and Merkle trees work, while we have basically got an overview from a theoretical point and from a simulated point, how they basically work, the hashes and the Merkle trees. Now let's connect with the Bitcoin. Now come back to the okay, before we come connected with the Bitcoin, now let's imagine this, there is a train. This is an analogical understanding that I have taken here. Now imagine this is a train with an engine and about 7 bogies. Now each bogie, including the engine, let these be represented by block names, block 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now coming back to this slide, if you remember, this was there in the distributed ledger slide, and I have taken one slide from there to just connect it with the hash and Merkle trees here. Now in this map, what we had seen and what we had discussed earlier was like there were number of transactions and each node was holding a public ledger. Now imagine this public ledger to be the data in each of the blocks of this train. So just for the sake of imagination, you imagine that these public ledgers that you are seeing here, we bring it here. So they represent data 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at various timestamps. So after 1 hour the ledger will change. So basically they are holding data. And now with the concepts of hash and Merkle tree that you have got, like unique hashes are there, fixed length outputs are there, then Merkle trees are there. Now just understand that in block 1 we add the hash of block 0. Similarly in block 2 we add the hash of block 1. Again we add the block of the hash of block 2 in block 3, and subsequently it goes on. So there is a mathematical connection between each of these blocks. So these bogies are mathematically connected. Now why am I saying mathematically? Mathematically because there is a hash and there are Merkle trees. Now from a generic understanding point of view, this is what represents a blockchain. Now what you see on the screen right now, all these bogies, they basically represent the block, and all these connections between the blocks, the mathematical connections that we are talking about currently, they form the chain, the cryptographic chain, and the two words combined, block and chain. So they basically form a blockchain. Now again here this is a generic representation of blockchain technology. The things are pretty much complex. Now this complexity will basically I'll try to remove as we move ahead in the this channel. So again there are multiple concepts behind. It is not so simple that a transaction is simply added to a block and the hash is taken. There is consensus, there is proof of work, and then there are other concepts that I have altogether at various point of times inferred about being in the ecosystem that runs the complete Bitcoin. So for now I am completing here this video, which was basically giving you an idea of what are hashes, what are Merkle trees, and how these hashes and Merkle trees constitute and assist in a blockchain. Why is blockchain called as blockchain? What are these blocks and what are these chain? So just for a repeat, blocks are data sets which are being held in these blocks, and chain is cryptographically linking them. So hash of respective blocks are preceding in the respective near blocks which are following appending to the chain. So with this I end up here. Thank you and leave your comments. Thank you.